everyone, and welcome to tonight's stream of FNM here at Nerd Rage Gaming. I'm your host, Andrew Donnelly, and with me is a special guest tonight, Team NRG's own Joe Lissette. Joe, thanks for joining me.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited about this. This will be kind of a new experience for me, and we'll get to see things from a different perspective than I'm used to.
Awesome, fantastic. Let's check out our first match of the evening tonight. We've got Max Kahn on his Abzan aggro list, and Alan Newhouse playing the Tamir Manifest. What do you like in this matchup here?
Well, I'm excited to see this because I heard before that the Abzan aggro deck has a main deck Gather Courage, which that's something where it can definitely be exciting if that catches, like a removal spell or just in, a tapped out and then blow up a combat that's, that you're not expecting. So that's something fun that we can look forward to, hopefully. Tamir Manifest, so we're looking at Whisper Elemental probably. That'll be interesting new card to see. It's I realized last week playing myself that that's definitely going to be a powerful card. Maybe not so much in this matchup. The effect of the Manifest creatures being colorless makes a big difference in some matchups, but just it just generates value over turn as a large creature in itself. It's I wasn't initially impressed, but I thought it was a pretty solid card.
Sure. I know decks like the Tamir Manifest list have also been looking at Sagu Mauler as a way to kind of stretch their game against the blue-black control list, the blue-white control list.
Right. Well, anything useful there is unlikely to come up here, but we'll see how this goes. I imagine the Manifest deck is going to be a bit sluggish compared to the Abzan deck, so we'll see if he can keep up.
Max has definitely played a quicker Abzan list. He told me before we started tonight that he did take out his Herald of Torments, which he usually used to press through the air, and has decided to go with the Warden of the First Tree plan.
Nice, and that's also, whereas the Herald can't convoke for the Gather Courage, the Warden can.
The Warden definitely can.
Yeah. I'm sure he has more reasons than just that, but if that was his only reason for making the change, good enough.
Speak of the devil, we see Warden of the First Tree off turn 1 for Max Kahn. Alan's going to draw here, kind of mull over his hand. Played a turn 1 Temple. I believe he scryed, kept on top.
Temples are always nice to start off with, especially when you're, essentially, it's nice to, use all your mana every turn, and if you don't have many 1-drops, the Temple essentially uses your mana by giving you something to do. You get to scry instead of playing developing the board, but it's still worth something.
Sure. Max went to attack here. No blocks, no effects from Alan.
No, I'm not super in tune with all the new cards, but the Warden pumps for 2 mana, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so I like him not just ramming into open mana and wasting his turn getting it killed in response, which, he'd just be guessing whether or not that was going to happen, but I like him not doing that and just playing another guy. And there was a burn spell, so it's good that he did not try and pump that up during the combat.
So yeah, you're looking at Warden of the First Tree, black, white, 1 colorless, becomes a human warrior with base power and toughness of a 3/3. Alan's going to draw, kind of mull over what he's got going on. I believe that was a See the Unwritten he picked up.
See the Unwritten, so that's the kind of card that's going to be really strong in a later game, but he may not get to that point of the game here.
The ever-reliable blocker, it's so carried it.
And I like him attacking before pumping, because Alan really can't block, and then he gets to play something else. Yeah, that works out well. So we pulled about 20-something players tonight, which is seems fairly reasonable. I know that's smaller than you guys are used to, but with the big open event a few hours drive away this weekend, I know that attendance was expected to be smaller than normal, and I know that I and a few other people here are leaving a few hours to drive up there, or I guess my middle of the country geography is maybe not so hot. I guess it's actually driving down, aren't we,
Correct.
To get down to the open.
Very true. Yeah, attendance, I think, rounded out at about 23, 24 players tonight. So we'll see the life totals become adjusted here to the correct. So Max actually 8 damage off of playing the carry did. Or Rakshasa, I'm sorry, the Rakshasa and the Fleeceman.
Surveying the room a little bit before we started, and I gotta tell you, I'm rooting for the, I'm not real good at guessing ages, but there was a a very young man
Sure.
who was picked up a couple of the new, I believe the Palace Siege
Okay.
was the card, and they were inquired about the price and came up with 39 cents, which he was pretty happy with. So there's a few of those in his deck now.
Okay.
So I'm hoping he gets on camera next round and we can
Is-
see him drain somebody
Is
out.
that a control deck or is that a Mardu mid-range list?
It's every removal spell I think that he could come up with,
Okay.
and then a few things to try and win the game.
Awesome.
Once the other person basically just gave up.
Alright, which Palace Siege is a good card for that. So we see Alan here using the green manifest card to manifest and then attach a Ghost Fireblade, I believe. Is this the card we're looking at there? Which is the +2/+2 to a colorless creature. So he's definitely trying to get aggressive with those colorless. I want to say morph, but they are actually manifested creatures.
Yeah, it's another bonus of being colorless is that some cards like Ghost Fireblade that already existed and really didn't see much use because it wasn't a very efficient equipment now is much better.
So he's tapping for cow. Okay, he's gonna manifest again.
Is it the next spell?
I believe it is.
So I haven't seen too much of this in action so far, but it's gotta be moderately intimidating against a deck where the creatures are likely fairly large in the manifest deck in the first place, and then when they are coming in with 4 counters, then could be quite a bit larger than that once
Of
it
course.
if it flips over. I mean, obviously it could be anything, but
I know that was a card people were excited with to try with the Hooded Hydra
Mhm.
and try to accelerate into a board state where if you remove the Hydra after these counters were placed on it, I'm going to have a bunch of 1/1s now that you have to deal with. Lion's going to die. Sees the land under the manifest. Still good value there. I mean, turning your land into a 2/2 from the top, you're removing land from your deck, creating a creature on board, and potentially trying to get damage through. We'll see another Warden from Max.
it's not gonna cut it against a 6/6 coming over next turn though.
Very true. Max kind of, what else does he have in his hand here? Looks like Cave Scolios. Don't know. Sand Steep Citadel? Is he just packing land? That's what it looks like. Forest, a Caves, Sand Steep. So he doesn't have a lot of options here. Besides, of course, dumping the mana
Yeah.
into the Wardens.
I mean, flooding on that land is less bad than it would have been otherwise with these wardens that you can continually reactivate. Especially if the Temur deck is packing most or all of its removal is burn, then once a warden gets growing, it might not be able to get killed.
Alan's going to take a draw, see what he wants to play. There's the Whisperwood Elemental. And that's a card that has to be dealt with. This is the card that kind of all the decks that Manifest was looking for. They wanted to kind of turn these guys on here.
Yeah, I mean it's just an awesome card. I mean the ability to regenerate a new board after something like an hostilities, then also just creating a creature every single turn, even if it's just a 2/2. That's still you're essentially card every turn, even though it'd be a small creature, it's still you're drawing a card at the end of your turn, every turn. And then with Ghost Fireblade, you're not even 2/2s.
So he is that Warden of the First Tree is large. That is a spirit with 5+1/+1 counters on it. So he's now a 3/3 with 5+1/+1 counters.
As well as Trample and Lifelink, and then it may get even larger the next turn. Yeah, this could get out of control very quickly. Like I was saying, if this Temur deck doesn't actually have a bounce spell or something similar, then it might already be out of reach.
He's kind of mulling it over here. Still has the lands in hand. Swinging. Allen's trying to figure out if he's going to go to blocks. I don't know if he necessarily wants to throw anything directly in the way.
Another Whisper Elemental was the manifest from the first time.
Was the manifest that he originally put down?
The manifest from the Whisper Elemental turned out to be another Whisper Elemental, it looks like.
Wow.
So then he flipped it over on his turn before passing the turn, so he'd get an extra free creature.
So at this point, the race is on, essentially. I mean, Max will be swinging in against this pretty large board state. I mean, trample and lifelink is what that Warden of the First Tree has. But is that really enough here? I mean, you have the potential to attack, get in for 7. Your opponent can probably block down.
I wonder if we have the life totals wrong, if the players have their own life totals wrong here. Because I feel like an attack back would have killed Max last turn if he's actually at 6, because the Warden had attacked.
Did he attack last turn with the Warden? I don't know if he did or if he pumped it.
Well, maybe I'm wrong there, but we'll see. I mean, if this, with the ability to ultimate again this turn, although he's facing quite a bit. How much damage on the other side of that board? 4, 8, 12. It looks like 16 can come across. So if he reactivated, which he is, could attack, and it would be a lethal attack, so Allen would have to block with something. It does not appear to be what happened. I mean, I guess Max can afford to play conservative because, again, it's unlikely that Warden can die.
Sure.
And even though Allen just continues to get free creatures every turn.
There's the Siege Rhino.
But I don't think Max wants to wait too long, because if Allen ends up manifesting something like a Death Touch creature or not manifesting, but finds a Death Touch creature, then the lethal attack might disappear.
I mean, Allen's board stakes has to be gigantic at this point. I know there's manifest tokens that we have off of the camera view here. I'm wondering what he's looking for. I mean, has he checked under? I'm assuming he's been looking at the cards he's been manifesting. See Max on main phase. I guess this is the Warden of the First Tree. After rereading the card, is a little bit more interesting than Figure of Destiny. Not realizing the fact that it can potentially keep growing. Where Figure of Destiny kind of had a stopping point.
Yeah, no, the Warden can keep going over and over again. But if Max doesn't get on top of things, he's not going to be able to keep up with these the manifest creatures every turn. I mean, some of those are going to be bound to be, like, if 2 lands or something like a spell flip over, then that adds 4 power, whereas Max can add 5 by triggering his Warden. But anytime a creature flips over, there's going to be more power gained on Allen's side. So I feel in the long run, Max is going to lose his, and may already have lost his edge on the board.
Yeah, relying solely on this Warden and doing nothing but essentially drawing land. I mean, the Siege Rhino was the first thing he's drawn that's, it advanced the board state at all.
I guess we get to a point where Max can trigger his Warden twice a turn, then he'll easily be able to keep up with whatever's coming out of Allen's deck.
Well, you have to wonder if Allen is even under the potential to run a main board Void Snare or 2 to
Yeah, he really might, or Force Away, or any of the. There are several different bounce spells that are fringe playable in Temur. There's, I think the options are like the Voyage's End, I believe, is allows you to scry.
Yep.
And then there was the Force Away, which allows you to loot if you have Ferocious.
Which at this point, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you're meeting those requirements.
But the game is really bogged down at this point, with neither player actually doing anything.
Here we go. We might see a flip from Alan. It's a Hooded Hydra and a Hooded Hydra. Now these are the manifest cards that you want to flip. So now it was manifested, but it says when it is flipped face up, you put 5/1/1 counters on it. If that creature dies, you get 5/1/1 snake tokens. So this is the exact card that the manifest decks are kind of playing around by. Okay, you know, I can put this card down as a 2/2. Had I used the put X counters on a card, it's now bigger. I can now provide a bigger board state.
So, Alan definitely going wide here, and Max going large. I felt like Max was ahead for quite a while in this game. I no longer feel that way. Even though he possibly has an unkillable, massive creature that will gobble up a good chunk of Alan's board if it ever attacks.
When we saw from Alan, it looked like at the end of Max's turn, Alan flipped over another Whisperwood Elemental.
Okay, well, maybe we'll get to see, if we just sit here like this, maybe we can see Alan get decked at some point.
That is now. See, that's a possibility too with these decks. Is that I think that's often overlooked as well. The potential to thin yourself too much, which is pretty amazing. Oh, we see a Flamewake Phoenix, Ash Cloud Phoenix. Thank you.
So that'll actually, well, that's significant in several different ways. One, well, most importantly, it's a flyer, which Max cannot stop, at least not.
At least we hope the Warden of the First Tree, when it becomes a spirit, does not gain flying, correct?
And even
it
if,
does not.
with Max at 8, even if, and then Ghost Fireblade joining it up, so that's going to kill Max in 2 hits, which might force Max to attack with, I'm assuming that red dice is a 20-sider, so we might be coming in for upwards of 30 damage this turn with lifelink. Which will require most of Alan's board to jump in front of. Now, if another one of the manifest creatures was a Phoenix, it could just morph right now and end the game. So obviously there are not. So that's the kind of thing where it's probably not relevant, but Max now knows that none of the manifest creatures are an Ash Cloud Phoenix. He has that knowledge.
Wow.
Oh, okay, so that was perhaps a missed opportunity there for Alan, as assuming our life totals were correct, and the players have adjusted to, yeah, so apparently we did have the life totals correct. So before that siege round came down, that second Ash Cloud could have ended the game. Now the game might be over anyway.
Oh.
Okay, so
So
the players did have the life totals
correct
displayed incorrectly. Which, so our apologies for that. That makes the last.
That would make sense for
Yeah.
the attack that we saw earlier
Yeah.
from Max.
Yeah, it makes the plays now make sense, and
Definitely a little hard with the dice to calculate the above 20 life totals.
and that makes more sense because it seemed I was confident that the Warden had attacked once, and the life total did not change, so the players didn't adjust the total for us, which shame on them, making us look silly. It probably will not be the last time tonight that happens.
Definitely not the last time tonight.
So now we have the Warden coming in for. I can't exactly make out those dice. I think it says infinite -10, so whatever that is. is a lot. 33, it looks like.
33. So he switched to the 20-sider now, correct?
Yeah. So I don't know whether there's enough actual damage here to kill the Warden, which can pump twice more in combat. So hopefully Alan keeps that in mind and doesn't leave some creatures back that would need to participate in this combat, but it looks like he's... wow.
So he's dumping. This is all the manifest cards that were off the board that we couldn't see previously that had been made by the Whispered Elementals. He's now throwing in front of this giant Warden.
And he doesn't have a choice, and I'm still not confident it's going to be enough. I don't know how many cards... I don't know how many manifest creatures are there, but this Warden is going to be very large.
So with his play with the Whisperwood Elemental here, so he can technically sacrifice the Whisperwood to...
Well, so it's the Whisperwood when your actual creatures die, you get 2 new manifests. So all these manifest creatures themselves will not benefit from that.
Sacrifice Whispered Elemental. Until end of turn, face up, non-token creatures you control gain. When this creature dies, manifest. Okay, so really it's only the Hooded Hydras and essentially whatever other Whispered Elemental creatures he's blocking with die.
Perhaps the Caryatid could jump in the way. But then, also to do that, he would have to sacrifice the Woods, which would remove that much toughness from the block, which looks like he made. So we're going to count 4, 5, 6. How many was that?
I did not. Max rolled through those cards.
You're the experienced commentator here. I was relying on you for the total there.
I should have watched. I'll tell you, I was actually more interested in the dice he was putting on the Warden of the first tree.
Well, I'll tell you, I was watching, and I couldn't catch it either.
Now, the Hooded Hydras were there also, so we know there's at least, that's 8 from the 2 Whisperwoods. These Hydras are 5 apiece? 10, 15. And the rest are 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4. I'm going to guess there's 14 2/2s there.
Okay. And we have how much outside of that? 10, 18. So we have 18 plus... 18 plus 28? Is that what we have?
I believe so.
If that's right, that would be 46. That would be enough to kill the Warden.
We're going to see here. I mean, if that's the case, and the Hydras die, I mean, Alan's... Those are Whisperwoods that are not blocking, correct?
Well, clearly, Alan has enough creatures to get rid of here if he's able to not block with his most important guys.
So Max is himself at 16. Is this?
But if the Warden is not dying, then it's not going to get any smaller, and Alan will just get crushed next turn.
Correct.
There we go, thank you guys. So Max goes up to 56.
Holy cow!
But the game is not over, so clearly there were more than 14 manifest tokens.
Yes. Oh yeah. Wow.
And here we have a look at all of the lands and other such that are going to the graveyard from the manifest.
That is, honestly, that is amazing to me. I mean, just your variable chances to pull most of your manifest creatures as lands. I mean, granted, he did, I guess, pull the Hooded Hydras as well. So the Warden is dead, finally.
Well, I feel like... Oh, Max certainly has some breathing room now at 56, but he has lost... Those Siege Rhinos will not beat triple manifest every turn.
And these Phoenixes are still in play.
Yeah. Okay, they do realize that.
So now you're looking at 2 Whisperwood Elementals, correct? Because one blocked previously, or he sacked one?
I don't know if one's sacrificed, but I believe there are 2 left in play at the back there. And one of the Hydras.
Correct.
So if Alan has any sort of delve cards in his deck, they are going to very easily be cast for the rest of the game. And his graveyard's so large, maybe even carry over for the rest of the match.
Sure.
You get a bonus credit.
Bonus added dig through times.
Yeah.
I have to wonder, though, with Alan sitting at 2.
Well, I know the Siege Rhino will kill him, but with 2 on the board, Max can't really rely on drawing another one.
Is this a deck where you think Alan really has enough damage to push through 56 life without milling himself out at this point? We discussed decking before.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 10 a turn coming in the air.
So that's an attack. It dropped out of 38 from Max.
One interesting, I guess, note would be that if Alan manifests another Ashla Phoenix, he will not be able to turn it over because it would kill himself.
Correct.
So unless he actually draws it, he will not be able to add any more flyers to the board.
So we're looking at Max's hand. There's an Abzan Charm, a Warden of the First Tree, and it's either Double Warden or a Gather Courage.
I think I saw Gather Courage.
Yes, so Gather the Courage, Abzan Charm in Max's hand.
I feel like, with so much life total to spare, I feel like drawing 2 cards and trying to hit Siege Round just end the game would be justified, although he did take a lot of damage last turn, so maybe he wants to save the Abzan Charm to actually kill something.
Well, I mean...
But I don't know what his chances are. His board positions can continue to get worse as the manifest triggers every single turn.
He could potentially hide behind another Warden, I guess?
Could, but with a lot of damage coming over in the air, you have to start attacking back, and it's going to take a long time before the Warden is big enough to survive an attack.
Max saying, go. Show me what you got. Double Magma Spray. Targeting the Warden.
So...
Make it a 3/3 and then Gather Courage it? Seems like the play.
Alright. That seems... I mean, maybe it's simpler to just...
Make it large?
Yeah, to make it larger.
Well, here's a response. We'll see the negate from Alan for the Gather Courage. Yeah. I can't say I like that very much. I think Max was a little hasty there and probably didn't play around the fact that when you have the Tamir, you have access to the counter magic. I mean...
Yeah, there were several interesting facets to that.
Alan now readying his board for another attack, it would seem. Sorting his manifest tokens. Here come the ash clouds and the snakes again. Abzan Charm the Phoenix, Max says.
I don't get it off the board, but that's not gonna... removal is not a long-term solution here, because he's not going to be able to keep up. I realize we've said that several times already, but the Whisper Elementals are going to just dominate the board in the long run.
It's interesting. It puts Alan in a situation now that you mentioned before, where he now Oh, he can't. Oh, no.
Well, the chart would...
Yeah,
with
the chart will just exile the Phoenix. So he's taking 10 a turn.
He changes his mind and puts it on one of the manifest
Okay.
tokens, which makes sense. It's cheaper and it's available to block.
He is thin.
Yeah, so maybe we're kind of being silly earlier, suggesting that Alan would have to worry about getting decked, but we might actually be approaching that. He may actually be at some point be in a position where he wants to start attacking with the the Whisperwoods. Now they can sacrifice them whenever they want to, so he can get rid of them. But if you're going to sacrifice them, you probably just want to attack anyway.
So this time he's going in with the Hooded Hydra, which he was keeping back to block earlier. Hero's Downfall from Max, targeting the Phoenix. He's going to rethink his mana.
He appears to have a few choices.
Just a bit. Phoenix will flip. Now this is the position that I was referring to previously during the Absent Charm. So now Alan can't flip up that Phoenix, correct?
Correct.
For
right.
fear of
he would
killing himself.
Yeah. Now, Alan may have a creature to flip or a spell to cast. Otherwise, the Ghostfire Blade could actually have moved over to one of the attacking creatures and then moved back to the manifest creature. So Max played a Sorin there.
Plus,
And
I have to believe, did he actually flip? I know he just flipped it now. I don't know if he flipped it in response to the sword, but it was a Kiru Spell Snatcher. It flips, counter target spell your opponent controls, obviously. You exile that spell, and then you may cast that spell anytime you choose without paying its mana cost. That is, I believe, what just happened, correct. I saw the Kiru Spellcaster come in. It was one of the cards from over there.
Well, that's certainly taking it back a ways. Hasn't been too many cards. That Spelljack was the old time card that kind of had that ability.
Correct. Yeah.
And
yes, sir.
So we have the updated morph version, which any morphs with flip over ability triggers are going to work great now in stack, because especially when there's that many manifest creatures, there's no way Max can really play around any of that, because there was, at different points in the game there might have been 20 creatures that flipped over.
Correct. Or
20 cards that flipped over. That's tough, and he can't just not play anything because he's losing on the board also.
So we'll go to the sideboards here as the players do themselves. What do you see in Max's sideboard for the Abs and aggro list?
Well, Max has 3 Drown in Sorrows, which I have to think are going to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
Last game, for example, they might have killed upwards of 15 to 20 guys in one cast.
Easily.
He has some Bioblights, which are probably not great. Wingmate Rock, Whip of Erebos. I mean, in any long game, those cards are going to be worthwhile, so those might come in, although I'm not super excited about them. The Wingmate Rocks at least can trade with the Ashcloud Phoenix temporarily and hold them off. There's some Back to Natures, a couple Despise, and a Silence the Believers. Silence the Believers, another card where if Alan's trying to make the game go really long to take advantage of the Manifest, then, like a Silence of the Believers, I mean, we saw Max might have had 15 land in play.
Easily.
So Silence of the Believers could have wiped out several important cards at once.
Definitely a card that I felt was underrated. The Silence of the Believers seems like a good card in a lot of situations. Was definitely good when Mono Blue was around to pick off certain creatures. How do you feel about Max bringing the Despise in this matchup?
Well, Alan's deck obviously has a lot of creatures. It may have so many that it's not worth trying to pick one of them out. But there are obviously creatures that are going to be better than those. Whisper Elemental was massive that game. And if he can wait... Now, if he does leave them in, I would like to see him not cast Despise until turn 4 or so, because you don't... Even if you see it... Like, if you cast the Despise on turn 1 and see a Sylvan Caryatid, you're probably not taking that anyway.
Sure.
So you may as well give him a few more turns to get to the point where he's about to cast one of his big guys to maximize your chance of actually getting the more relevant creatures. So they might come in. Well, that probably depends on how many cards he has to take out. Because we know the Drowned Sorrows are coming in, and I have to imagine the Silence of the Believers is coming in.
Yep. We'll take a look here at Alan's list for the sideboard for the Mirror Manifest. So we have the double Sagu Mauler in the sideboard, which was a card we talked about earlier. Good card against the control list. Great card to flip, just because it presents you a very large board presence that's hard for your opponent to race. You've got a Hooded Hydra, a Karanos, Savage Knuckleblade, and Ugin. 2 more Ashcloud Phoenixes, 2 Anger of the Gods, an Aether Spouts, 2 Reklo Sages, and 2 Naturalizes.
Aether Spouts will be with the Manifest. That's another side. That's Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's in the manifest deck. So against Max's deck, I mean that might be. I mean, definitely he's in the market for some things that can deal with arbitrarily large wardens.
Sure.
And Aether Sprouts can do that.
Definitely. Well, we'll see the players kick it off here. We had a Magma Spray onto a Warden already, I believe. Max playing a second Warden. Or Fleece Mane. Can't quite tell. Max is, however, down to 17 already, off of the burn. Has to be a Fleece Mane, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like it is. And there is a Despise, and being cast on this is, I believe, his third anything. Ashclef Phoenix leaving 3 land and a Ghostfire Blade. So
wow.
This is not looking real good for Alan, but looking good for us having a third game.
Now that's an interesting keep for Alan, though, too. If his plan was run out your Caryatid, run out your Ash Cloud face down, try to equip it with Blade, and...
Well, I have to mention, with the Caryatid coming out, his intention might have been to cast the Ash Cloud face up, because then it's protected from everything besides Absent Charm.
Sure.
Max appears to have a Siege Rhino in his hand, so with Alan really not getting off too much of a start here, although actually a Ghostfire Blade on Sylvan Caryatid can block a Siege Rhino.
That is true. So we'll see a morph. Max with a Downfall in hand. And double Siege Rhino?
Yeah, that appears, yeah, you're right, there are 2 in there.
I'll go for 3. Downfall your face down. Burn myself down to 15. So Max just being eaten alive by the Landwar Waste Caves combo here. But definitely taking care of Alan's board.
Yeah, and as long as he can cast the spells, I mean, Alan's not putting any pressure on him at all, so his life total doesn't matter too much at this point.
So, Ghostfire Blade on the Caryatid. Max says, I will fetch, and I think we'll see Dr. Rhinoceros come out on Max's turn 4.
So there's going to be a Siege Rhino and potentially a boosted Fleeceman line, unable to get through
a
Sylvan
Caryatid with a Ghostfire Blade.
Alan will take some damage, but all the other Sylvan Caryatids that have ever been cast are being jealous of this one, which actually can defend against the standard dominating Siege Rhino.
Alan has to be wishing here that this Sylvan Caryatid can now attack and block through most creatures.
But still nothing but more land to follow it up.
There's the block.
Oh, and another Siege Rhino. And even if he digs up his Aether Spouts here, that's really not gonna... Forcing Max to redraw the Siege Rhinos is not exactly a solution to this. He does have a Nissa in his hand.
What do you think about that card? Just
well,
in general.
It's going to be a little late here. If he does actually have the mana, so he emphatically throws down the Wooded Foothills, but he could actually... The Nissa lands are also obviously colorless creatures, so Ghostfire Blade can equip to those for 1 mana as well, and 6/6 land can block a Siege Rhino, but I think we're too far gone.
Yeah, it may be out of his reach. The start was very quick. There's the Nissa.
It's possible. A lot of players like to play it out to the very bitter end, but with another game to play if Max wins, Alan might be well suited to just pack this one up. Although, actually, Max may just suggest, you don't have to actually consider conceding, you're just going to die.
Sure. I'll just kill you with my aggressive board state. We could fetch here, make the Fleeceman big, right?
Which will trade with the...
Not trade, indestructible.
Right,
says Mr.
right.
Fleeceman, so he'll just kill your land. 7 minutes left in the round.
Well, Alan's at 1 now. I mean, Nissa is still alive, so can drain another blocker, which could at least jump in front of the Fleeceman or absorb the damage from the Siege Rhino. Actually, he'd probably be better served making the land. Well, if he had something else to block another creature, and putting the Ghostfire on the land, so he could then carry it. He could block the Fleeceman Lion, and then the. Oh, he does have another creature.
Oh, Hooded Hydra.
That is.
Max quick on the attack. Holy cow.
But we're not killing anything.
There is a Drown in Sorrow, Rakshasa, Death Dealer, and Unknown in Max's hand currently.
Yeah, and Max doesn't need the help, because Alan's not really keeping up as it is.
So we'll see 4 snake tokens from the Hooded Hydra.
Yeah, which is nice, but
not good against
not good against 2 tramplers.
I think if you're Max here, you just the Drown in Sorrow is super good right now, correct? Yes.
There it is.
Take care of the pesky snakes.
He cost himself a siege around the process. With Alan at 1, I wonder could he have waited until next turn to cast that and then attacked with, even though his siege rounds would only been 2 3s, they would have been that would have been sufficient damage, and Alan might not have been able to muster 3 blockers post Drown in Sorrow to survive the turn.
So we'll see him make a land here. So he has to have another creature on board, correct? Or he's just dead?
Yeah, he does.
Well, I guess he could have. Interesting.
Aether Spouts. Wow. This is not gonna.
Now Max gets to choose.
Max gets to choose where they go. Yeah. So this will be. It looked like Siege Rhino went to the bottom there. I feel like it should have been the other way around.
I believe that was Rakshasa that went to the bottom.
Oh, that was
Siege Rhino and Fleeceman went to the top, potentially.
Well, there was 2 Siege Rhinos on the board.
Were there? One died after the Drown in Sorrows.
You're right, that's right. So this would have to be a... I guess, I mean, if Alan had drawn, say, a Disdainful Stroke or something there, and been able to animate a land, attack for 6, Disdainful Stroke, your redrawn Siege Rhino, attack for 10, that actually would have been game.
Sure.
So if he actually drawn a counter off the top there, so I was suggesting he could have conceded 3 minutes ago, and actually he wasn't that far from winning that game, which almost blows my mind because he was so far behind, but...
truth be told, looking at his state too, I think had he started shifting the Ghostfire Blade over a little bit earlier to the lands that Nissa was making for him, he probably could have taken out at least 1 or 2 of the Siege Rhinos.
Or just prevented an entire attack from coming in. Alright, so we'll see one more game here. Well, we may not see the entirety of a game. Hopefully the players will get this going. Certainly a minor complaint I have of a lot of players when time is running down is they don't realize, I need to cut short some of my normal manipulations. For example, we just saw Max Pile Shuffle. That's the kind of thing with 4.5 minutes left, maybe you can cut that out.
Sure.
But you often don't see that at any level, not just at an FNM level.
I wonder if that's a stigma for some players. I know certain players don't feel like maybe their deck is shuffled enough if they don't pile shuffle.
Right.
But I agree, and it's always I've found you have to be. It's better to cut down on things like that than to cut down on some of your triggers during the game, because you never know if your opponent may call you on something. And
for a lot of people, even 5 minutes left, it's hard to appreciate. I need to play much faster now. It's not for a lot of people don't realize until time gets called or until a minute's left. Oh, we need to hurry now, but you needed to actually hurry 5 minutes ago.
Sure. So, in between rounds here, after round 1, we'll move back to our old audio system so you guys get this cleared up a little bit. We apologize for the sound not being up to snuff tonight. We're trying out some new features that we will use when we stream the SCG regionals coming up this Saturday. So, next Saturday. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's on the 7th. I keep getting my dates confused. I feel like there's an event every day. True. So what do we have? The regionals coming up February 7th.
The winter regionals for this portion of the country is going to be hosted by Nerd Rage Gaming
Mm-hmm.
here next week, and that will actually be on stream also, hopefully, presumably with clearer audio.
With better audio, yeah, I hope so, for sure. So we see Temple of Silence come out from Max, and Double Frontier Bivouac. And that is another Despise. That is the Kiru Spell Snatcher that we were talking about last game. So he's going to take the Sagu Mauler.
I mean, that makes sense, because that Saga Mauler is the biggest threat in a game with 2 minutes left.
Boy, I'll tell you, I've played against that card in Limited. It is not fun. So we'll see 3 mana. What do I want to put down? 2 mana. Mr. Carradid?
Another aspect of running out of time and perhaps not playing quickly enough is frequently the players might not even be aware
Of
that the time is running
time
down.
around. Yes, very true. So that's going to be the...
That was a Death Dealer that came down
Rakshasa.
and immediately dies.
Interesting.
I mean, there's no reason to hold back. If you have a way to kill something, do it, because there's not going to be too many more turns in this game.
So you can see Max here now trying to escalate the speed of play. Alan, though, leaving his hand face down.
I don't think he's going to escalate through that Siege Rhino too easily.
Not at all.
So we actually have a morph in play as opposed to just a manifest creature, and so that's likely to be the
Kiru Spell Snatcher.
that we saw earlier.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that Ghost Fireblade will allow those creatures to still not attack their Siege Rhino. However, they could, I guess, double block and take it down. Oh, okay.
All right.
So we do see an attack at the cost of a 2-for-1 trade, but the Siege Rhino does fall and is immediately replaced by his brother, thus probably putting the game out of reach for Alan. And I think we're likely to see a draw here.
What does Max... He's got, like, Anafenza. He has his own Whisper Rhino, another Siege Rhino in hand. There's our time and round. See an attack for 4.
A third Siege Rhino. Okay, well,
Max up to 27. Alan down to 7.
maybe I'm wrong again. Maybe third Siege Rhino may actually be enough to finish the game off.
Game is on turns.
So with Max having 2 more attacks, and Alan maybe not having a whole lot of action in his hand, maybe Max will actually win this on turn 5.
Boy, a Gather Courage here would be pretty timely. Turn 1?
So turn 1, actually, so the other die was just extraneous dice. So actually, it looks like Max will have
Anafenza,
more
Anafenza Gather Courage? There's Anafenza. There's a Warden. Here come the Rhinos.
Well, I certainly don't like playing those creatures before attacking, although I realize they're in a hurry, but I'm not sure that it actually happened any quicker, because the way it did. I mean, by playing the Anafenza pre-combat, the blockers will not go to the graveyard. I'm not sure that is likely to matter here either. I guess it does shut down Delve in the long run.
Sure.
And if there was an Ashcloud Phoenix mana available, then that makes more sense, but there is not.
There's your Gather Courage off your Warden.
Well, that explains him playing, I suppose, playing the Warden first, although the Anafenza could have done the same thing.
Drop down to 3 for Alan.
I believe Alan is not long for this world.
It does not seem like it. That is a mean board state. Oh, he says that's it. Max will get there 2-1 in round 1 of FNM tonight. Very interesting games, to say the least.
Yeah, well, game 1 was really I would say the one that, if any of them I'm going to go back and watch, it would be the first one, when there were approximately 37 manifest tokens on the board.
Oh, yeah.
And a
a slew
40,
of
45 or so power Warden of the first tree facing it down.
Oh, that. The game one was definitely a match that you don't see often. I think it definitely displays the power of the Manifest card. I don't know if the Tamir home is the place for it. I don't know if a blue-green is more the place for it, and kind of like a devotion list, but it's definitely interesting. I mean, being able to produce that much attack power on board, that board state, in a very short amount of time.
As well as keeping you safe from end hostilities, Crux of Fate, and only because as long as you have other creatures. And then it actually protects you from Ugin, because even though everything else will die, all the Manifest creatures will stay.
Correct. Yeah.
So Ugin actually would have been completely worthless in that position in Game 1.
And he's a card we know people are definitely jamming into decks recently. He's been showing up a lot in a few open lists, and people are definitely trying to run him out and see how he works. So that was a really interesting match. Max's Abzan aggro list, pretty similar to what we've seen in the past. A few changes with the Warden.
The Warden, and I imagine the Warden required some changes to the mana base also, now that you have a 1-drop that you're going to want to be casting in addition to Thoughtseize.
Yeah, it was interesting. Strange we didn't see the Thoughtseizes that game. I don't know if his deck ran 4 previously, but we did see the double Despise.
So we saw Despise in both sideboard games, yeah. Both sideboard games lasting much longer than the first game. Although, in the first game, the sideboard cards that both players had available to them would have made the first game much more straightforward.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Well, we're going to take a short break here, get the audio looked at, and we'll be back for round 2 of FNM here at Nerd Rage Gaming. Stay tuned.